Hello everyone, this is General Hand Grenade. Welcome to my war room in Prince George, British Columbia. In today's video we're going to be taking another look at another Global War 1936 to 1945 expansion set. This one is called Group Monsun, U-Boats in the Far East. Normally Germany stays on the European side of the board. They got their hands full over there taking on all kinds of people. But in this set, they help you to get onto the other side of the board, down into the Indian Ocean and even into the Pacific. You pay a few bucks and you get over there. We're going to get into it and then see exactly how you do that. But let's just take a look at what you get with this set when you purchase it. Let's go from here, see if we can get rid of a lot of the glare. Okay, so you're going to get some markers here. You're going to get 3 submarine bases. You're going to get a seaplane base. You're going to get a seaplane tender. That's the thing that carries the seaplane. And then the seaplane is a GW-36. You get a Type 9 and a Type 10 U-boat. So let's just get into this and find out what it's all about. The Indian Ocean was a transit route for strategic raw materials flowing from British colonies, as well as a route to get war material from England to defend India and the Far East. Submarines were also an important way for the Germans and Japanese to exchange technology and raw materials for mutual benefit. In our latest release, Group Monsun, you will get to play out Germany's strategic investment in Indian Ocean U-boat bases. Okay, so mostly what this is for you to attack convoys here, particularly this convoy line in the Indian Ocean here. That's the Indian Ocean line. But also, you're going to be going up to Japan up there to exchange technology. Now, you're not actually going to exchange technology. What they're going to do is reward you for going up there. But really, I mean, when you think about back in the 1940s, how Germany and Japan were supposed to help each other when they were on opposite sides of the world and cut off from each other by their enemies. Really, the only way for them to exchange things were with submarines, right? Because any boats would have been intercepted by the Royal Navy or by the Americans or somebody else for that matter. And planes, like, they just didn't have that kind of range, right, to get from one to the other, and even they could be intercepted. So the best way to get between Japan and Germany was in a U-boat. Anyway, so now a scheme is a set of changes that a player applies to the rules, and this is a scheme. And if you want to play this scheme as the German player, then what's going to happen is you're going to have to pay 16 bucks, but not all at once. You have to pay 8 and 8. So it's going to take you 2 turns, right? And you can start on any turn in January 1939 or later. What you're going to get for that, so you get to place up to 2 submarine bases and 1 seaplane base in the Indian Ocean. They can be placed at any location controlled, possessed by the Germans, Japanese, Italians, or Vichy France, regardless of the war status of these nations. So you can basically put them not just in German territories, but any one of your allies. Now the submarines, you place the Type 9. Hang on a second here. So that's this one here. This is the Type 9. You place that one, and the Type 10, which is this one. So you place these at the submarine bases that you put. Now, I don't know where you put the submarine bases, but that's what you can do. You place those at wherever you put those bases. Now, I was talking about technology exchange with Japan. So for every German or Italian submarine that reaches a sea zone adjacent to the Japanese home country, Japan may make 1 free technology roll. For each German or Italian submarine that returns from Japan, Germany gets 2 IPP, and that's from the strategic raw materials. So what you would do is you would try to get a German or an Italian submarine, if you could get it to any territory that borders the Japanese home country. And you know what the Japanese home country is, of course. That's this here. But it also includes Okinawa here. That's part of the Japanese home country. So you just basically need to reach here or here, you know, like you can go any territory that borders that, and Japan gets one free tech roll. And then if you can get back, where do you have to go back to? The returns from Japan, Germany gets 2 IPP. Now, it doesn't say where you need to return to. Like, do you just need to return to your base or what? I don't think so, because you could put the base where Japan is, right? It said that you could put your base where the Japanese were. Anyway. So the Type 10, or sorry, the Type 9, let's talk about that one first. Now that's this one over here, this sub here. The Type 9 was a large ocean-going submarine capable of extended operations. It had a range of 13,450 nautical miles. Several of these operated in the Indian Ocean as part of the Monsun group. The boat carried 22 torpedoes and was equipped with a 105mm deck gun. It functions like a regular submarine. So it attacks at 3, defends at 3, moves 3, and it only costs 5. The availability is in January of 1937. So that's if you were to purchase that submarine. But of course, if you're playing with this scheme, then you would just get that submarine, but not until you started purchasing the scheme in 1939, right? Okay, so then you got the Type 10, and that's this one here, and that's a mine layer. It's a Type 10B. It was a mine laying submarine, of which only 8 boats were commissioned during the war. The boat could carry 66 moored magnetic mines and up to 15 torpedoes. It also had a 105mm deck gun. The 2,710-ton vessel was the largest U-boat built during the war, and correspondingly suffered in terms of its maneuverability and dive speed. Later in the war, some were used as transports. These boats had a range of 18,450 miles. So these were huge submarines, but not very maneuverable, not very functional. That's why they didn't build many of them, right? So the numbers correspond to it's got an attack of only 1, a defense of 1, a movement of 3, and cost 6. So it's available in January of 1939, and it says mine layer. The Type 10B has a +0 convoy rating roll, but is not subject to defense rolls by escorts or advanced submarine warfare. So when you're using this one, this big one here, it doesn't matter if your opponent has any escorts on the line. They don't get to shoot you. It's not as good at shooting at your line, like taking money off, but at least it's safe from the escorts, right? Now the seaplane there, the GW-24, it's a German seaplane and was used primarily for maritime reconnaissance and search and rescue. The aircraft had a range of 1,459 miles and was lightly armed with 20mm and 7.92mm machine guns. It has no attack and defense capability. It moves 4 and it costs 3. So it's a pretty cheap little boat there, but that's because it doesn't attack or defend. What it's used for, though, it's available in 1937. So what it's used for, it can pair 1-to-1 with a submarine to give that submarine a +1 convoy rating roll. And you always choose this last in combat. So you can choose it as a casualty, but it chooses last, kind of like a transport in a naval combat, just a regular transport. So basically this thing here has a +2 when you're rolling for convoys. If you had this thing here, then it would be +3, okay? And this thing here is a 0, but if you paired it with this, then this would be a +1 on your convoy rating roll. And if you need to know how to raid convoys or anything, then just go to my video on convoy rating. That'll describe to you. I don't want to start here because really, it takes a whole video to explain convoy rating in this game. So go see that if you're interested in this. Now, the last thing there is that Seaplane tender. That's that boat that's sitting there. Now, it also has no attack and no defense. It moves 4 and it costs 1. So it's pretty darn cheap. It only costs 1. It's available in January of 1936. And to use that, a seaplane that begins its turn on land, so if it's not on combat air patrol, treats a seaplane tender in an adjacent sea zone as if it were a friendly naval base. And it is also chosen last in combat. So it looks like this is really what it's going to do is extend your range by 1. Because that's what a seaplane base will do, right? I'll just remind you what seaplanes are. A seaplane is an aircraft for all game purposes and is required to land in a coastal land zone. Seaplanes may not land on aircraft carriers or use air bases. A seaplane treats a naval base as if it were an air base, allowing it to scramble and extend its range. So when you got your seaplane, and let's just say that this was a German territory and you have a seaplane base over here, you don't actually land out here like you would think. You would land in the land. Now, you're not actually landing on the land, you're landing in the water, but you're landing so close to the water that they're saying that you're in the territory, because you're tied up to that territory, so you are a part of the territory, right? And when you have a seaplane base or a naval base, then you can extend your range by 1, kind of like an air base, but you wouldn't use an air base for a seaplane. It may land in a zone captured this turn in combat, so long as that zone contains a recently captured naval base or seaplane base. A seaplane that participated in combat could land in such a zone in non-combat. However, such a seaplane could not fly a mission without enough movement points to return to a friendly zone. So if the Germans were to take this territory that it's in here, then you could land here. But you had to make sure before you left, like let's say you started down here, you had to make sure before you left that you were going to be able to land someplace. If you couldn't take this territory out, you have to establish, yes, this is where I'm going, and I've still got enough movement points to land in a safe zone. But that doesn't mean you have to go back and land in a safe zone. If you do take the territory, then you can just land the seaplane there in a territory that you took that turn. Long-range aircraft technology increases the patrol range of seaplanes by 1. So there you go. You can is +1 if you have long-range aircraft. Now, a seaplane base is a facility that can act as an air base for seaplanes. Like a regular airplane or air base, it allows seaplanes to begin there to add 1 to their movement. A seaplane base also allows up to 3 seaplanes to scramble from the base and participate in combat in an adjacent sea zone. A seaplane base can sustain 3 damage points before it is removed from the map and must be rebuilt. It can be repaired as if it has 1 or 2 damages. If it has 1 or 2. A seaplane base can cost 3 IPP and has no inherent anti-aircraft guns. It requires 1 turn to build. Now, I was telling you about that you can scramble, but with this plane here, because it has no attack and defense capability, you're not going to be scrambling this type of seaplane. But there are lots of other type of seaplanes in this game that you can purchase, and those are the seaplanes that they're talking about. Basically, all the seaplanes, I was using the wrong base there, wasn't I? That's a sub base. We want to use the seaplane base. Basically, the only thing that this one is good for is helping your subs raid convoys, okay? And I would imagine that's because it helps your subs find convoys, like, oh, there's some freighters over there, so you let your sub know, and then the sub goes over there and attacks them, right? So anyway, that is that whole scheme there, I believe. Let me just take a look, see if I got everything. Yes, I did. So there you go. There's Gruppe Monsun U-boats in the Far East. I think that would be a cool one to have. I'm not sure it would be my favorite one, but it wouldn't be my least favorite either. Like if I was playing the Germans, I think that would be quite useful. It would be quite useful to the Japanese as well because it keeps the British busy down here, right? It makes the British put boats on combat or sorry as escorts instead of fighting the Japanese. So, and plus it's going to help the Italians out because it's going to draw the British down into the Indian Ocean as well, right? So yeah, I think that this one would be quite useful if you were the German player, and also useful in taking that money off, especially when you got this plane and you can add to that. You get all the stuff there for free, right? Well, not for free. You pay $16, but that's cheaper than what you would pay to purchase all of that stuff, right? So you're getting a pretty good deal on that. Anyway, that is Group Monsoon, U-boats in the Far East. So take care, everyone. General Hand Grenade out.